Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen for a brand new and very exciting series. I suppose I have to start this series, Jeannine, by saying it's morphing time, don't I? Because
Yes.
that's kind of the vibe of today's episode, at least, and I suppose is the vibe of the entire series, although obviously we are focusing this first episode, this series opener, on those that say it's morphin time, which we won't give the proper title to quite yet before I finish my little intro here. But it's a series of Saturday morning movies, and that relates to Saturday morning cartoons, Saturday morning children's shows from
Yes.
a certain particularly sort of 90s era, I think early to mid 90s kind of time we're dealing with here, of television shows that children would wake up on a Saturday morning to watch. And we're doing a little bit of a double feature series as well, looking at movies based on these children's TV shows from around that time, as well as more recent reboots, remakes, all that nonsense that you get, because nothing is, free from having a remake, and nothing is free from being respawned in some bizarre way to try and make it cool and modern and whatever that means. Does it ever work? Well, we'll find out over the course of this series, won't we? It includes, of course, the recently premiered and released, and depending on whether you're listening to this or not at any given time, it may already be out, new Masters of the Universe movie.
Yes.
Which is what we are going to be covering as the finale for this series, looking at the Masters of the Universe movie from from a long time ago, that silly one with Dolph Lundgren. As well as this newer one, the latest addition to the Morgan Hasn't Seen oeuvre. But we're starting, as I said, with those that say it's morphin time, with the Power Rangers, Jeannine, specifically the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And we've not just watched 2 movies for this either, because we needed a bit of context, or at least I needed a bit of context.
You did, yeah.
So we've even watched a couple of episodes of the TV show itself.
Yes.
It's very fun. But basically, I suppose a first question to ask in this is, why this series? Why the Power Rangers? Are we excited for this? What brought you into liking the Power Rangers? And what really do you think I'm going to feel about the majority of this series going forward?
With the new Masters of the Universe movie coming out, that's what kind of spawned the idea, because pretty much quite a few of the major kid shows that I watched growing up all had movie iterations. And then when I kind of broke it down to the specific ones that had pretty decent movie adaptations, they also had kind of modern retellings of those movies as well. So that's kind of where this, with the new Masters of the Universe coming out, and I figured, there is a Masters of the Universe older film that kind of just spawned me to create this concept. And really, I think a lot of this show is me getting you into things that I grew up on that are kind of out of the realm for you, or things that you just kind of didn't really see or be aware of even. So it's my way of kind of sharing my childhood with you, so and just kind of see, kind of have you maybe look back at Kid Morgan and see, is this something, if you kind of knew what it was, and now seeing it, do you think you would have actually been into it when you were a kid? So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think that's an interesting way to look at it. You are right, I think, in saying that a lot of Morgan hasn't seen has been you introducing me to things that you grew up on to a degree.
Yeah.
At whatever age that was, not always when you were a child, but sometimes when you were like 18
Yeah.
or
And a
16
lot of
or
times
20
yeah,
even.
like yeah, like films definitely from my kind of generation of being a teenager, being a kid, or even things that I haven't seen before, but always kind of wanted to
Yeah,
see or want you to see or us to kind of get into it together if it relates to kind of other things that we're talking about on the show. But for the
yeah,
most part, it does kind of end up being things that I grew up with, that you
yeah.
maybe have no concept of, or just kind of things that passed you by. So, yeah, I'm really excited to kind of revisit a lot of these things, and see what you think of them.
Well, certainly, these things we're talking during this series are definitely things I have concepts of, definitely
Yeah.
things I'm well aware of. Things that, in truth, I will have seen snippets of in the
Yeah.
past. I think everything here, apart from probably Masters of the Universe, which is definitely the one in this series, and we're looking at Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, and Masters of the Universe. Masters of the
Yeah.
Universe is the one that I have by far the least awareness of in terms of what I have seen previously, what I'm just aware of, I suppose. These others, I do have vague recollection of. I do actually specifically recall owning a rather large toy set of Ninja Turtles, and it was the whole sewer system, and
Yeah.
figures and what have you, and it was a big old thing. But did I ever, watch the show like that? No, not really. Did I ever watch any iteration of the show like that? No, not really. Um, Certainly that's the same with Power Rangers today, and we'll have to get cracking straight on into the episode, I think, because while I do recall Power Rangers sometimes being on television, it really, really wasn't one of those things that I ever paid a great deal of attention to. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe Kid Morgan thought some such way about the Power Rangers, didn't vibe with the Power Rangers for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Me being me, focused on like older Hanna-Barbera cartoons and that sort of thing. I was, all the Scooby Doo and the Flintstones and all that sort of era.
Yeah.
Um, as well as even going back older, and it was always Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes and things like that. That was what I spent a
Okay,
lot
what
of
you were watching.
time
Okay.
watching in terms of cartoons, or in terms of like when I was like 9-ish or something like that,
Yeah.
if you were to call them Saturday morning cartoons, because I don't think it was maybe quite the same atmosphere in Britain. There's an awful lot of British TV shows, as British kids TV shows, that I am very clued up on, very familiar with, could
Okay.
ramble on about
Yes.
for hours and hours and hours. But obviously
Yeah, I'm
you would
sure.
have no concept of.
Yeah.
Um, they're not
Yeah.
necessarily as universal or as widespread as these kind of staple things that crossed the Atlantic, essentially.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
And then when I got slightly older, 12-ish, 13-ish, I'd be watching a lot of Nickelodeon and a
Okay.
little bit of, I suppose, Disney Channel of the era as well. But I was a little bit more Nickelodeon than Disney Channel, admittedly,
I mean,
um,
I was pretty
to a certain
even
point.
because I think I was, like, in the era of, like, early Disney stuff, like, I think later things like, you were probably more like when Hannah Montana was kind of out and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That was where I kind of stopped watching Disney, but I also was, like, huge on Nickelodeon because they had a lot of, like, fun '90s shows that I was into as well.
yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, a lot of my era of Nickelodeon is very much soured by the guy who created a lot of it
oh,
now,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
at that time, but that is what I was kind of predominantly
Okay.
watching. I don't want to kind of dwell too much into that, but it gives you an
Yeah.
idea of the
Yeah,
kind
of
of
what you
kids'
grew up
TV
watching.
I did,
Yeah.
or I did kind of watch that wasn't necessarily the same tone, style, or attitude of something like Power Rangers, which yes is a slightly older show. It is, I think it began. What did it begin in '93 or something like that?
Yeah, early 90s. It was part of the Fox Kids block of shows that was
Yes,
like, a Monday through Friday after school kind of set of shows and also like Saturday morning stuff.
yeah,
So that's the block of shows where I would watch, X-Men the animated series, Batman the
yeah,
animated series, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs. So all of those kinds of shows,
yeah.
and Power Rangers were all under the Fox Kids umbrella. So yeah, a
Okay,
lot of kind of really great programming, under
yeah.
that. So,
Well,
yeah.
the episodes of the show that we did watch was a two-parter called The Power Transfer,
Yeah.
which you kind of did a little bit of a search on, and is considered a particularly strong two-parter of that whole
Well,
show's run.
yeah, and since this movie is focusing on the kind of new set of Rangers that have joined the crew, I wanted you to have at least some context for the original, black, yellow, and red Ranger, and then the new
Yeah,
ones that you would be seeing in the movie. So yeah, kind of just mm, a sad thing to think about that, like, they did this whole thing because the 3 original actors, asked for a pay raise and ultimately got fired. So that was
oh,
why
nice.
this whole switch kind of came about. Um, so yeah, that's kind of a bummer situation. It's why we kind of really don't see their faces really in the episode
Yeah,
either. Um, but yeah, they were a huge kind of part of the show and then yeah, made this switch. Um, so yeah, I thought that would be kind of the best set of episodes to watch to give you kind of an
yeah,
idea of what the show looked like. Also kind of explained to you and had you kind of watch a little bit of a breakdown so you would know kind of, the style of the show, them kind of just
yes.
repurposing footage of the Japanese kid show Super Sentai.
Yeah. I
Um
mean, that was
and
something I had no idea of.
yeah,
Like, did I, I would ask myself the question in watching this show, was I aware of the kind of style of the Power Rangers?
yeah.
The fact that it's obviously an incredibly bright, very, very energetic, very
Yeah.
dynamic, ridiculously kind of frenetic show full
Yeah.
of color, and these sets look okay, a little bit cheap, but I kind of really like them.
Yeah,
Um,
like a old
did I
Godzilla
know
movie
what?
kind of feeling.
Yes. Did I know
Yeah.
what the visual style was? Yes, but was I aware that it was actually all of the fighting scenes were just repurposed footage from a Japanese show? No, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
genuinely believed it all to be that one production. I had no
Yeah.
concept of that at all. So that was interesting to
Yeah.
learn, to be honest. And I suppose when you actually think about it and you think about the energy and the tone and the style in watching these episodes of Power Rangers and in watching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that we'll be talking, starting to talk
Yeah.
about very shortly, I I suppose it takes knowing that it comes directly or is repurposed directly from Japanese kids television to kind of recognize that, oh yeah, obviously this is Japanese. This looks like the most, big robot monster,
Yeah.
kaiju, dinosaur, dragon, Japanese
Yeah,
nonsense you've
right.
ever seen. And how did I
Exactly.
not recognize that this was quite obviously came
Like a
from something
repurposed
Japanese
material. Y
before?
y Yeah, and if you kind of watch enough episodes, it's kind of the same thing every week, like, you notice that, the Pink Ranger has a skirt and the Yellow Ranger does not, because in the original, the Yellow Ranger's a guy, um,
Ah,
so, like, it was never meant to be a girl, so, um, yeah, it's kinda
I
things
I
like
suppose
that
I
that
didn't
make
notice
you
that.
Yeah. I think, if you watch enough episodes, you're kind of like, why doesn't the Yellow Ranger have a skirt too?
Mm,
Kind of thing. But yeah, and then they would film the new footage with the students and the actors. But they did make sure they got actors that could do some of the action in scenes before they kind of morph into the Power Rangers.
yeah,
So I always appreciated like getting to see these actual actors kind of do a bit of the stunts and martial arts, like the original Black Ranger Walter Jones, like he was a dancer, and so of course
okay.
a lot of kind of, subtle controversy in the fact that like let's make the Black Ranger a black guy and let's have him incorporate like
Sure.
hip hop dance moves into his fighting
Yes.
style, like stuff like that. The Yellow Ranger being an Asian person, so that was always
Yes,
kind
it's
of
it's
like
a
a thing
little on the
people kind of.
nose.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that the newer movie kind of plays with that joke of, the Asian guy being the Black Ranger and saying I'm black. And the black guy like, no, you're not, kind of thing. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of weird thing they did there. But like
Yes.
Amy Jo Johnson, who was Kimberly the Pink Ranger, she was a gymnast.
Yeah.
Um Jason David Frank, he was a martial artist.
Yeah.
Um
I mean,
so
you get
all of
that sense.
them,
You get the
yeah,
athleticism
yeah,
of them all
yeah,
100%, and that,
yeah,
stays true going into the movie. I think it's clear
yeah.
to see that these guys were trained people in the
To
gymnastic
some
athletic
capacity.
sense.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
some
so
capacity, that they were able to do these flips and these big kicks and these kind of big leaping around all the time, and to have the level of energy required to play the Power Rangers before they got into the armor, and obviously we no longer saw their faces. But obviously in the movie, I suppose it would have been either them or stunt people
stunt
when
people.
stunt people
Yeah,
required.
exactly, and that was all, like, the first time, like, all original footage, so,
Yeah.
that's kind of a cool thing to see, knowing kind of what the show was, and they would always constantly, once they ran out of, like, particular footage of something, they'd have to kind of, like, readapt and be like, "Okay, they gotta update on their Zords because we ran out of footage of the original Zords, so we're gonna take this
Yeah.
footage from another season of Super Sentai and use those Zords and say that they upgraded." So they would have to kind of course correct, based on how much footage they had of everything, so kind of a
I
whole
suppose
funny
it's
thing.
quite clever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quite clever from a production standpoint, I think, to do that. It's obviously cheap, it's
Yeah.
cost cutting, it's money saving, but it's
Yeah.
a smart way of doing that, and it's a way that
Yeah.
feels still like you're making a worthwhile enough show. And obviously, I think it should go without saying, although I feel like some people, and maybe when we get on to comparing this Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to the 2017 Power Rangers movie, this will become a little bit more apparent and a little bit more clear. But I think there's a
Yeah.
certain maybe type of person that always wants to, that maybe grew up with the Power Rangers, that seems to want to mature the Power Rangers, want to edgify the Power Rangers, want to bring the Power Rangers
Yeah.
to a more serious realm. And I'm sorry, but in watching the television show, and certainly I think in watching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie from
Yeah.
'95, which I think we'll start to talk more specifically about now, why would you not want it just to be that tone? Like, that tone fits Power Rangers so well to
Yeah.
me. Yes, it's clearly made for 10-year-olds. It's not even like one of those family movies that are made for everyone, like made for the adults, the parents,
Yeah.
and the kids. It's specifically made for like
Yeah.
8 to 12-year-olds, and that is just what this is. And I can embrace that. I can roll with that. I can vibe with that
Mhm.
because that's the intention of it. So in watching the movie, it's obviously really goofy, really childish,
Yeah.
incredibly kind of hyped up as though the entire movie's on a sugar rush, because the
Yeah.
kids are probably on a sugar rush from eating, you know, Cocoa Pops with extra sugar on a Saturday
Oh,
morning.
yeah, like that scene of all the kids goofing around when all their parents are possessed, like,
Yeah,
that's what
like,
the kids
that's what it's
watching it are.
supposed to be. Like,
Yeah.
you can't possibly be kind of upset at that's what it's supposed to be. You can't possibly look down on that that's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be and think, "Oh, well, we don't like this anymore. We must mature the Power Rangers." No, it's made for children. So
Well,
keep it made
we
for children.
yes. Well, I did share with you an attempt to do just that in maturing the Power Rangers. There
You
was
did,
a
to be
short
fair.
film that came out, I can't remember what year, but it starred Katie Sackhoff, James Van Der Beek.
Yeah.
It's this gritty kind of little take on the Power Rangers, this little short film. Um, that gained a bit of traction, so I did kinda watch it when it came out. I was like, "That's kinda cool." Of course, James Van Der Beek, so I had to watch it, you
Yes,
know?
of course.
So I wanted to have you watch that as well and kind of especially because we are in the midst of watching Dawson's Creek over on Morgan Has a
Yes.
Scene TV. So yeah, I wanted you to kind of have that context as well of people kind of, thinking outside the box with the Power Rangers. And I think Jason David Frank, who did play the White and Green Ranger, Tommy, I think I remember him kind of saying something about not caring for it because it just didn't feel like the Power Rangers, something like that. So he would have agreed with you. I know I talked to you about his passing recently, I think in
Yes.
2022. He took his own life. So um but he was kind of the one actor who has been in kind of most iterations of
He's
the Power
Mr.
Rangers.
Power
Because
Rangers.
yes, 'cause I never watched beyond Mighty Morphin, but there were so many other iterations, and he
Yeah.
was kind of a part of most of them. So he was kind of
Well,
a main icon of the franchise,
yes.
so a big
Yeah,
loss for Power
Mr.
Ranger
Power
fans with
Rangers.
him. Yes, so I remember him being kind of vocal about that short film. But,
Okay.
yeah.
I suppose to give a little bit of my opinion on that short film, I I felt it interesting, and like if you did want to edgify and mature up this world of the Power Rangers, I think that's a better way of doing it than what the 2017 movie tried to
Okay.
do. Um, because yeah, that keeps it succinct, as a short. It keeps it very, very focused on one particular thing that happened or happens or is kind of trying to be
Yeah.
dealt with. It feels quite sort of non-consequential to the whole realm of Power Rangers, that short. So it's the
Yeah.
kind of fan-made thing I can kind of respect in a way because it's
Yeah.
not while it's very serious in terms of the tone of it, I feel like the production of it isn't that self-serious and it's not trying to be something more than it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that about it. I think that's the way you can make Power Rangers serious if you want to. Again, like I said, kind of in comparison to the 2017 movie that tried to, well, it was little bit of a wishy-washy. What did it really kind of want to be?
Yeah.
We'll obviously get into that in a little bit here when we've talked a little bit more about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie itself. But what it obviously was doing was trying to be a little bit more of a mature movie
Yeah.
for audiences of the original movie
Yeah.
at the time of the original movie. And what is the biggest detriment? I feel like we're going to say this. I really feel like we're going to say this time and time again during the course of this series. What is the biggest detriment to these sort of remakes? It's trying to it's trying to grow in tone and in age demographic with
Yeah.
the people that originally watched these shows in the early 90s, say.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that. I genuinely believe these ideas, of Power Rangers, of Ninja
Mhm.
Turtles, of Transformers, of whatever it may be, work better at their fundamental "we are for children" mentality, because that is their original intention. So it just makes sense to me. It computes with me a little
Yeah.
bit more that I, as a near 30-year-old adult now, can watch
Yeah.
the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie made for a 9-year-old and go, I'm enjoying this because this knows
Okay.
exactly what it is. And
And
this knows
leans into
exactly
it.
what it wants to be. It leans into it. It does it well. It's really obviously a very simple, straightforward movie.
Yeah.
It's a very uncomplex movie, but it embraces its own childish goofiness
Yeah.
and, energy and brightness and poppiness and wildness and craziness. And it's full of slime and ooze and, extra terrestrial wildness going on, and powers and aliens and space things. And it's just
Yeah.
all very 9-year-old, 10-year-old. And that's what it's supposed to be. So
Okay.
I
Well,
like that.
well, in saying that, would you have watched this at 9 or 10? Would you have been entertained by this at 9 or 10?
See, this is my kind of strange situation with it, because I remember it being on when I was 9 or 10, but not watching it because I was too busy watching those
So
shows I briefly
that you
mentioned in the
mentioned.
past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. In thinking about it now, it probably wasn't the kind of thing I was into. It
Okay.
probably isn't even now the kind I can recognize it as not really the kind of children's TV that I
That was
was
for you.
into
Yeah.
and that I would still be into now, because I would still go and watch those cartoons. I would 100%
Yeah.
and enjoy,
Yeah.
perfectly enjoy them. I really don't. I think there is something a bit too frenetic about it. Maybe I preferred a
It was
little
a
bit
little
of a
bit
slower pace,
okay, a little too much sensory overload for
a
young
bit too
Morgan.
much sensory overload. And do you know what? There was certain shows when I was growing up, particularly in Britain, that were very, very sensory overload and chaos. Maybe it was just in a bit of a different way that was palatable to me, that
Oh,
wasn't necessarily kind of color and effects flying at me all the time. That was maybe just a lot of people shouting and
okay.
running around. That's
Yeah.
kind of maybe a bit more palatable in a chaos sense than something like Power Rangers, that is quite an effects heavy show,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's,
Mhm.
it's very, very effects heavy. It's full of
Yeah.
little lasers and little
And
lightning
fireworks,
things.
explosions kind of
Yeah.
things, and yeah. Yeah.
And the movie does embrace all that as well, and becoming familiar with the character, or the big villain of the movies, Ivan Ooze, which I got a
Yeah.
little bit confused about, because I thought that ooze had something to do with the Ninja Turtles, and I believe it now
Yes,
does. So I thought, oh
it
wait,
does.
isn't that some
Yeah.
sort of Ninja Turtles thing? But no, it's not. They both have ooze
They
involved.
both have O's. Yes, yes.
He's a fun character.
Yeah, he's definitely, chewing up the scenery, like a lot of the little jokes and things like he brought to that himself. I think he would gargle like black currant juice to make his tongue purple right before
Yeah, I like
scenes.
it.
Yeah, so he was very committed. I can't remember the actor's name. He played Bellic, the villain in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
So yeah, they got an actor who knows how to play a villain, in a
Oh, yeah.
very popular film to play Ivan Ooze. I was kind of warning you, not warning you, but like telling you to look out for why, I think maybe you probably heard people comparing Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse to Ivan Ooze and things like that.
Yes.
So now you
They do
have that
look
context in seeing what this character looks like.
Yeah, they do look
Um,
very, very similar. I must say as well, though, and this maybe doesn't come as a surprise for you or any regular listeners of anything, It's a Wonderful Podcast. that I really quite like the effects in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. I like that
Yeah.
everything just feels like latex makeup and,
Yeah.
suits and, suits you're wearing and
Yeah.
sets that you can touch. And it might be
Yeah.
like cheap plasticky stuff, but you can feel it's there, you can feel it, and it's
Yeah, it's
so
very tangible, yeah.
distinctly different. It's incredibly tangible.
Yeah.
Apart from, okay, sometimes the lightning bolt effects and the little firework
Yeah,
effects that you say
and
and
even,
things
like,
like
the
that. That's
CGI of the Zords, which this was, like, the first time they had original Zords that
yes.
weren't like the Super Sentai footage, that looked a little kind of like, Doctor Who level of CGI
Yes.
kinda
Sure.
energy, but for the '90s, like,
Yeah,
what are
well,
you
I
gonna
I can,
do?
really appreciate,
Yeah,
particularly, I
the
think, the fact
ambition
that
in that, yeah.
yeah, but the fact that Ivan Ooze as that villain is just Belloc in a big latex suit.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it full of this armor that he's got on. That's not cost a great deal to do, but it looks genuinely good because you feel like it's real and it's there and it's
yeah,
something you can
mhm.
hold and grasp. And it's the
And he's
same
having a
reason
good time,
he's
so,
having a great
kind
time. It's the
yeah,
same reason we still like all the all the 50s sci-fi effects and Ray
yeah,
Harryhausen's stop motion effects and all this kind of stuff because it's real, it's there, you can touch it.
yeah, somebody made that, so, yeah, I always had a lot of fun with the movie, especially because it felt like the show, but elevated, like, the
Yeah,
costumes are not just, like, cheapy, spandex, it's like they put real armor, um
yeah,
costumes. They each kind of ranger has a different kind of gadget that we get to see them use.
yes,
I love that we got so much of seeing like the actors do a lot of the fighting scenes. So like when they're
yeah,
first fighting those like Ivan Ooze characters, we get a whole pretty decent sized fight sequence with them fighting them hand to hand before they morph. So it's great getting to see these actors, really get into the action. And then even when they get their Nagedi powers, that's a costume
yeah,
where we can see their faces. So we again get to see them quite a bit of the stunts and work and stuff. So that's always
yeah,
enjoyable for me. Is why kind of I love, I think, Mortal Kombat so much, is because we get to actually see the actors do quite a bit of the stunts in that movie.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, as a story, it's obviously, as we say, very simplistic. They must venture to this distant planet to pick up these extra powers because the power of Ivan Ooze's return
has
has
destroyed
destroyed.
Zordon's power, so they've lost their
Yes,
power because of that, and there's only enough power to get them there, and they put this, like, ticking time clock on it with, they have to get this power in
it
so
might be
much time.
powder power.
Powder, yeah, right, so frantic. Um, they have to
There's a
get
lot
this
of
power in
powder going
time.
into the production.
Yeah, maybe behind the scenes. They had to get this power in time to save Zordon. So there is like a timeline involved in
Yes,
in them getting this power and all of that kind of thing.
and
So they
obviously
craft a story that
here's me learning
feels
who
very much like the
Zordon is as well. By the way,
oh yes, yes, the big floating talking head. Um so um yeah, it's basically like an episode of the show, but they find a way to kind of elevate the stakes a little bit
yeah,
more.
yeah,
And
they've clearly got a little more budget for the movie.
yes, and so you've met Alpha and Zordon from the
Yes,
show. So that's why I wanted you to kind of watch a couple episodes to get the context of those characters and kind of the style of the show and that whole kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it was just fun to kind of see this more elevated version, and kind of like a better looking version of what I was very familiar with growing up. And, I think that whole color coding thing kind of worked for me as a kid because I think most kids would do that. So, like with the Power Rangers, my best friend at the time, she was white with brown hair. So she was immediately like, I'm Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, and
sure,
yellow was
yeah,
my favorite color at the time, so I'm like, "Yeah, Yellow Ranger, she's the other girl, and she's cool," so, um,
yeah,
uh, shout out to Tree Trang, who died in a car accident in 2001, who was the original Trini. There's actually a really kind of nice tribute to her. Becky G, who plays Trini in the 2017 film, she's wearing a shirt that says 1979, which is the year that Trang was born. So, yeah, so a nice little nod to her there. But then when she became a Black girl and like I'm seeing her with braids and like that was like a huge deal for me, and like she made history as that character because somebody looking like her, a Black girl on TV in that show as a superhero, like did not exist. Like she was I think she is kind of like in the Guinness book or something, like she is credited as like the first like female Black superhero on TV or something like that.
I suppose that's something that you don't tend to think of is that the Power Rangers
are technically superheroes. Yeah. I mean, they have powers, they save the day, they're like responsible for the fate of the world in a lot of cases. So yeah. And so when I saw this character, I was just so thankful to have that representation. So, you know, I loved it.
Oh yeah, I mean it makes total sense. It's a great thing that the Power Rangers did there in having the cast it did at the time, I suppose. And it's a very commendable thing, and like you said, changing the cast as it did in those episodes of the show we did watch.
Yeah. But still keeping it diverse.
Yeah, still keeping it as diverse as it should be. Great. You know, can't fault that at all. And it's fun to see them, obviously, yes, as we say, it's simplistically done. We don't get a great deal of time to necessarily sit with our characters in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, and understand why they may all be friends, who they are, their school life, or anything like that. We open with some sort of bizarre parachuting contest. And that's about all you get
extreme sports, kind of like so we see them just kind of as cool risk takers, and so they do this skydiving.
But that's all you need.
Thing. We get our bullies, Bulk and Skull, who are like mainstays in the show, constantly trying to cause trouble to the Rangers. When they're not
just idiots,
Rangers,
though, aren't they?
They have their own little silly music that plays when they show up, and that whole kind of thing. So we open with this whole extreme sports, them doing this skydiving thing, and like the soundtrack to this movie, like they use their budget on some like big kind of music. The Red Hot Chili Peppers cover of Higher Ground opens this movie and this whole kind of scene. And then we get this whole like rollerblading sequence as well. And seeing them do all these crazy flips
cool.
and so I guess a kid, I'm like, oh, they're awesome. I wish I could do that. So I was like geeking out, like thinking this was the coolest thing ever.
It's the exact kind of people that would have said the word radical unironically.
Yes, totally radical, dude. Yeah, that was the energy of the Mighty Morphin era. And there's this construction going on, and so as the construction crew is like digging stuff up, they end up digging up this giant egg thing.
Yes.
And it contains this villain Ivan Ooze.
He's been trapped there for thousands of years.
Yes. But yet he knows all these modern references.
Yes, and speaks perfect English.
Right?
You know,
knows about the Brady Bunch and
it's very bizarre. But obviously, don't think too seriously.
Don't think too much about it.
Don't take it too seriously. It's not that rude.
Yeah, you have to think of it as some kind of like timeless entity who just is kind of aware of every kind of thing, no matter if they've been stuck in time for ages or whatever.
But I really like that. As I've said, I just think we don't need to be taking this sort of stuff too seriously.
Yeah.
This is something that's for children, so make it for children. Don't think too much about it.
You don't have to
put a little jokey reference in there to something that a 10-year-old would understand. put it in there
Go
because
for
that
it.
10-year-old
Yes.
is going to appreciate that and not think about,
Exactly.
oh, well, a 6,000-year-old ancient alien
Wouldn't
being
know
wouldn't
how
know
to speak
anything about
English.
that.
Wouldn't know
Like,
about the Brady
you know,
Bunch. Yeah.
like that 10-year-old in who has grown up to be a miserable 55-year-old now would think,
Yeah. Exactly. Nitpicking everything and like, yeah.
well, that's not actually accurate.
Well,
Shut up
actually,
and become
yeah.
a child.
You don't need to, well, actually, things in this movie.
No.
Just like take it for what it is and who it's kind of for.
I must say as well, though, I did actually feel this is something I'll give the 2017 movie plaudits for. I understand that we've kind of been doing a little bit of a comparison already into some of the aspects of that. So these double feature episodes do take on a life of their own. They're a different beast to the typical Morgan hasn't seen episode, aren't they? But interesting. It's always interesting to get into this sort of stuff in these comparison sort of things. I did feel the ancientness of, say, Zordon and Rita Repulsa in the 2017 movie. I think a little bit more than I would have felt the ancientness of them in the Mighty Morphin. That's a tonal kind of reason. I think you've got Bryan Cranston as Zordon in in the 2017 one. There's a certain some would say gravitas that Bryan Cranston does bring to it that's a bit more ancient and all-knowing and omnipotent and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and also kind of this tragic aspect of learning what happened to his team of Rangers and all that kind of thing. There's a little bit of a seriousness there, but also kind of just a playful piece of casting. I think I kind of told you the bit of trivia of Bryan Cranston in his very early career. He did voiceover work for some of the monsters in the Power Rangers show. So to have him come back as Zordon is kind of this little full circle moment in his career, which was kind of a fun thing. So there is a bit of kind of interesting lore introduced, I think, in 2017 for sure when it comes to Zordon. And so so I mean, maybe
in 2017, that stuff in 2017 I actually did quite like. I quite appreciated learning a bit more of that. It was just when the kids took themselves too seriously that I was just kind of like, we don't need to be doing this again.
Yeah, because we're making it for a new generation and that whole kind of thing. So we'll get into that. But yeah, I kind of get why there are some elements that I think are really interesting and other interesting that just kind of other elements that just don't tonally kind of work with that movie. But yeah, so maybe it would have benefited you to watch kind of the pilot episode of Power Rangers to get kind of maybe a sense, because maybe I don't remember, but I think they probably maybe explain his origin a little bit more. But since I did kind of watch a breakdown, I figured you would get enough of like what that opening story looks like, and I wanted you to kind of see the transition to these characters that you are meeting in this in the movie. So
makes total sense. And I will say that I don't think I needed that to understand exactly who everybody was and what their motivations were and what their ideas were and ideologies were within the Mighty Morphin movie. I didn't need that same origin explanation to just go with the flow of it. I didn't, because it was presented so straightforwardly anyway. Oh, Zordon, okay, Zordon, he's this alien guy who's just a big head in this glass thing that looks a bit like Jor-El from Superman. Sure, okay, that's who he is. I'm fine with that. Alpha 5, oh, he's just like the robot sidekick. Okay, he's a robot sidekick. He does all the robot-y stuff. Fine, okay, I'll roll with that. I don't need the big, glorious backstory of it all to get that. I'm saying in terms of the ancientness of this, of the Power Rangers as a entity. I understood that a little bit more from the 2017 movie than I did from this. But that's simply because that movie brought it up and this movie
and this movie Yeah, and that movie is like the origin, and this movie is just like
Yeah,
a they've already been
exactly.
established as the Rangers for however long.
Exactly. But we
Um,
barely get Rita Repulsa in the Mighty Morphin
no,
movie
she gets
either, do we?
sidelined immediately, like, Ivan thinks she's annoying, and so, like, puts her
She's a
into
little
a
bit
little snow
annoying.
globe. Yeah, so she was kind of like the main villain throughout the series, and then Lord Zed came in, and he became the major villain. There are even storylines where Rita and Zed get married and crazy stuff.
Oh,
And then there's Goldar, who's kind of like the main, like, henchman guy, which we see this
yes.
kind of interesting retake on Goldar in the 2017 film as well.
See, I'm
Um,
obviously not particularly familiar with that, aside from this depiction in the
yeah,
2017.
no. So the big monster that Rita makes in
Yeah.
the 2017 film is meant to be that Goldar character that you saw in the movie, the guy with the wings and the gold outfit
Oh,
and
it's him? Oh, damn,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, so that annoying sidekick with the gold wings. Um,
Oh, I actually didn't clock that it was just supposed to be that guy.
yeah, yeah, so that's Goldar. And so in the 2017 film, they make it this monster that she creates out of
Yeah,
gold.
this
Um,
enormous thing. It's not just
yeah, so
another
that's not
dude in
really what
armor.
Goldar is. They changed it for that movie. But yes,
Okay.
Goldar is just kind of a regular henchman that's in
Right.
the series. So you did see him in the 90s
Okay.
movie.
Maybe
So
that's
yeah,
why I
it's this
didn't
whole kind
clock
of
because it was so different.
yes. So there is this kind of race for the Rangers to get to the ooze and rebury Ivan before Rita and gang get to it. But Rita
Yeah,
and gang and Zed get to it first. They resurrect Ivan and now he's free. But the Rangers
yeah.
go to the construction site to try to stop him. We get a little bit of morphing action with,
We
you know,
do.
just morphing technology of them running into a construction guy and asking him, have you seen this kind of being? And he's like,
Yeah.
and he was like, did he look like this? And then the guy morphs into Ivan Ooze.
Yeah,
Yes.
how very funny of Ivan Ooze. He's a
Yeah,
comedic
so
genius
playful.
sometimes, isn't he?
Yes. So then he creates these ooze creatures for them to fight
Yes.
and takes
The
off.
ooze
So
creatures
now,
don't necessarily look
yeah.
phenomenal, but I don't care. Because Ivan
Yeah.
Ooze is a fun villain. I mean, I love when he
Yeah.
goes to and starts brainwashing everybody's parents in Angel
Yes,
Grove, the
and we
town,
do
through this
yeah. Ooze.
thing that he
And he
sells off at the carnival.
yeah, he pretends to be like he disguises himself as like a wizard selling Ivan Ooze's ooze or whatever. And
Yeah.
when the parents touch it, they become possessed. And of course, you know this movie is for kids because they give us this kid surrogate character. So this kid and his
Yes.
dad, they're like watching the skydiving competition. So they set up that this kid has a relationship with the Rangers and knows them, and like they're
Yes.
like he's like their
Loves
little kind
loves,
of neighborhood
Tommy.
kid buddy. Yeah. So his dad was one of the construction workers who gets the ooze and gets possessed. So he's kind of the kid who is doing like the groundwork to help when the
Yeah,
Rangers are in space. So we have our
yeah,
kid surrogate for the kids watching the movie. And so yeah, when the Rangers get to this construction site, we get, as I mentioned, get kind of a really cool fight sequence, a pretty long fight sequence of them
oh,
not
yeah,
morphed, them in costume or not in costume
yeah,
doing the fights. And of course, you know, as a kid, I always loved like, oh, look at them, you're like all dressed in their specific colors every time. I always thought that was like just a fun detail of the Power Rangers always
yeah,
wearing their colors. um but yeah, and then when it becomes too much for them, you know, they get overwhelmed, they have to morph, and so then we see a big
yeah,
fight sequence of them. And all of
yeah.
them get a little fun gadget tool to use as well, which was kind of like a fun little upgrade thing
There
from
is
the show as well.
there's multiple upgrades throughout this
Yeah,
movie because
yeah.
obviously when they go back to the kind of base area, Ivan Ooze has already been there and destroyed the entire place.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Because
Alpha Flight,
their suits disappear and they realize the power's gone. So then, yeah,
yes.
they go back to
No,
base and, yeah, figure out what's happened.
Zordon's been taken out of his big wall tube thing, whatever it
Yeah,
is, and he's now just like a skeletal being lying, dying
like
on
a
the floor.
baby.
like a
Yeah.
yeah. Just, oh God, what's this horrible looking thing?
Yeah, and I think it's like
Um,
a different actor because it doesn't sound like the same actor that voiced
it
him in
doesn't.
the
It
2. It's
doesn't.
like a different actor
And
playing him physically.
you know, you know what? I quite liked that because if there's one
Yeah.
thing I really didn't like about Zordon, it was the fact that he just felt so monotone when he's that big, huge head.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rangers.
I'm going. I'm sorry. It's, oh my God, have a bit of energy to you. Everything else in the movie
Yeah,
has some
and they
energy. Why don't you?
exactly. Yes, but he had more kind of emotion when he was dying, in, like,
He did.
physical form. And,
You know
they
what
do
does
try to have a
annoy
bit of
me as
what?
well? Sorry, I keep interrupting things.
No, you're good, you're
The
good.
the I know it's a goofy movie, and obviously the stakes are only as serious as a children's movie will have them be because the day is saved in the end, obviously.
Yeah, mhm.
Um, but the stakes are like high enough in terms of world-ending universe consumption. Ivan Oozy's taking over the entire place and
Yeah.
killing our, the good
He's
people and
literally
the
makes
Rangers,
it
and the
yeah,
and
he
the
literally is
Rangers
gonna
have to
make the
go.
parents literally gonna make the parents leap to their deaths as well.
Yeah, when you think a little bit about it, it's quite dark. It's
Yeah.
quite serious. And
Yeah.
and the Power Rangers obviously have to go to this distant planet, meet the wise old woman of the planet.
Old woman, I don't
Wise
know
old.
what
Well, no, not necessarily wise. The wise warrior woman of the planet, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dulcia, I think her name is, who turns into an owl.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah, she was
she.
originally played by Mariska Hargitay,
Oh,
but, I think she ended up, like, leaving early to, like, take vacation, and so when she didn't come back when they needed her,
okay.
they fired her and replaced her with this other actress, so,
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah.
But
Very
they're obviously up
scantily
there,
clad for a kids' movie, but yeah.
credibly so. But you kind of, there's a time for kids' movies where you expected to see this sort of thing, and
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
can roll with it.
Yeah.
They're obviously up there trying to get this extra bit of
Extra
power to
power. Yeah.
return back and
And get their
succeed in
suits and
saving the day.
power back and save Zordon,
Correct.
yeah.
Obviously, it's staked in this way of being like no man has ever returned from this
Yes, and if they
task.
don't get this
Of
power, they can't
course,
come back because Zordon only had
exactly,
enough power left to send them there, so it's like
exactly. So
yeah,
we must,
they
oh,
could
but we must try and we must hope and we must, band
yeah,
together because Zordon is important and we are important and all this kind. It's all great,
yeah,
but it's quite
yeah,
serious in terms of a stake.
yeah.
But what Alpha Five's reaction to everything is the same reaction that I feel like he should have to just dropping a piece of food on the floor,
Ay, ay,
which is
ay. Ay, ay,
like,
ay.
that's not a reaction. That is a reaction you have when you, oh dear, I've just, smashed a plate. Ay, ay, ay. It's like, you might as well say Mamma Mia.
Yeah, no,
He's
that's
talking
his
about.
comic relief kinda
I
line he
understand it's his
constantly
comic
says,
relief.
yeah,
I understand it's his
yeah.
catchphrase. I understand it's a distress
But
call
yeah,
that he makes. But the
yeah.
the level of severity of things that are going on in
It
this
doesn't
movie,
quite
it it
yeah.
warrants a little bit more than just a
More
"ay,
than
ay,
I
ay."
yeah, no, I agree. Because yeah, these are some pretty heavy stakes that they do set up here. So yeah, they do get into a bit of a fight with some like, flying monkey type figures in
It's the
these like
Wizard of Oz all of a sudden.
humanoid yeah, well, I mean, Zordon looks like the wizard.
He does
Um,
look a little bit like the wizard as well. Yes, he looks like Jor-El
yes.
and the wizard.
Yes. Ivan Ooze Crazy is a humanoid crow things that follow them there to this land, and they have to fight them. They can't fight them off, and then Dulcia comes, epic
Yeah.
entrance, jumping from this cliffside in this cloak, and then
Oh,
takes off the
yes.
cloak in her fancy, sexy outfit, and her staff, and is able to make
Yeah.
the screeching sound to get rid of the crows, and then she kind of guides them, tells them what they need to do. They mention Zordon, and so she knows they're friendly
Oh,
and then
yes.
ultimately helps them. So she
Get these animals.
bestows upon them yeah, she bestows upon them this power of the ninjetti. So she asks them to each think of kind of their spirit animal, I guess, or ninjetti animal that like embodies what they are or whatever, so that
Yes.
they can get these ninjetti powers.
Is
So
it
it's
the
a whole
Black
kind of
Ranger who ends up being a
ceremony.
frog?
Yes, and he ad-libbed that line because he knew it was kind of silly, like, I'm a frog. So I like that, like, he acknowledged kind of how silly it was. And then even her reasoning for why he's a frog, oh, like a prince that you kiss. I'm like, that doesn't say anything about
Like,
what the frog
that's not
can
the
do.
power. The
Yeah,
frog's just a frog. What do you want the frog to do?
exactly.
Be
Exactly. So,
amphibious?
right? So, frogs are like agile, like, yes, like, I don't know.
Are they?
Um, I mean, they jump really high. I don't know.
Maybe,
I
yeah,
don't know
maybe
what,
it's the power of jumping.
right? Yes. They're quick. I don't know what you could say about a frog's ability in terms of like a fighting thing.
No, I think they
Um,
ran out of animals. I mean, they could have used
right?
anything. Make him a
Anything.
cheetah or something.
Yes, right? But I'm wrong. That's why I like that he ad-libbed, I'm a frog, because yeah, we feel you,
Yeah.
buddy. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm so sorry. um, but yes, I think Kimberly gets a crane, Aisha gets a bear, Tommy gets the falcon, Billy
Yes.
gets a wolf,
Yeah.
and Rocky gets an ape. Um,
Yes.
so they get their new kind of cool ninja outfits. So we're getting
They
like a couple of
do.
outfits here. And then now they have
And they
to
even
go
get
and search.
upgraded kind of ranger suits as well from this, don't they? Did they get upgraded ranger suits from this? I kind of feel like I noticed them get
They
upgraded
get the
ranger
kind of
suits.
same suits when they get their suits back. It's the same suits that we saw them morph into before, but the seals I think are different, are the new animals.
Ah, that'll be why.
Um,
Yeah.
and they get new Zords, the Zords that are of those animals.
Yes.
When they have the big city fight. So they have to go in search of this
Zords
power,
being,
and then
for those who aren't aware, and I obviously wasn't aware, Zords being these sort of
yeah,
robot animal
Voltron-esque.
things
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
They're,
that kind of embrace the spirit of each ranger, and they can all eventually, as it would be, come together in what looks like a
yes.
Transformers sort of sense to
Yeah, like a
become
Voltron
one
Transformer.
enormous demon thing.
Yeah, and they pilot them from, this
Yes.
mechanical Zord that they can pilot, from within. So, yes, as they try to, find this power, they find the temple where the power is, but it's guarded by these stone creatures that come to life. So now they have to fight these stone
Yes.
things. So we get another really solid fight sequence of them fighting um, these stone warriors,
Yeah.
and ultimately they defeat them in working together. I love like the little teamwork moments, that we see them kind of do moves together, um, and then they get the power, so they get their suits
Yeah.
back, they go back, they're able to save Zordon, and then like I like that there was quite a bit of emotion there when Zordon was
Well,
like
there
dying.
was. Yeah.
Kimberly talking about he's like been a father figure to them,
Yeah.
and um yeah, so they do try to add some emotional beats in there as well, which I liked. So while they were all doing this, the parents are possessed. That our kid character, I can't remember his name, he's trying to like figure out what's going on. When they go to kind of like the big pavilion, they're all like goofing around, like no parents. So they're just staying up late, making a
Yes.
mess, causing chaos. And he has to go and tell them, hey, our parents are possessed. We need to get it together and save them. And so he's the kid,
Our
like
parents
the
are going to
kid who
die.
has
Ivan
to,
Ooze is evil. He's not just this fun guy from the carnival who sold you slime.
yeah, line, exactly. So they have to kind of, he rallies the kids to try to save the parents while the Rangers. So we get our like, I like that we, have this kid surrogate here to kind of,
Yeah.
be the hero on that end of things and help the Rangers out. So yeah, they get back when now it's like we have to stop Ivan. So then it becomes this big fight in the city. So we get our Zord fight like we would in the show, but it's
Yes.
like bigger
Yeah.
stakes in the city, this whole thing. Ivan Ooze has his own crazy looking Zord, and so they have theirs as well. He's kind of beaten all of them up with their Zords, so then they combine and fight him back. Um, to defeat him. So yeah, it's we get a solid amount of fun action sequences. We get, some stakes, we get some emotional beats, we get some upgraded costumes for our heroes. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're working within the bounds of what the show is, but definitely feeling like it's a movie. We have a budget. Let's kind of raise the
It's
stakes
fun.
a little bit. However, they did kind of cheap out on, like, I think they filmed in Australia and they were like, "Hey, come watch a free fireworks show with the Power Rangers at the end." So all these people came out and they just like did that so they wouldn't have to pay any extras. So
Fair. I
like,
mean,
yeah.
why not?
Yes.
You have to
Um
cost cut.
Exactly. So they ultimately end up saving the day. The kids are like literally pushing back their parents from walking off this cliff. Our kid character, he gets this big like industrial hose to kind of hose the ooze off of them to break them free of this possession, which they do. So the kids end up saving their parents, saving the day in Angel Grove, and all is well. And so, we get the kid kind of meeting with the Rangers, and they're like, "Oh, maybe you could be a Ranger one day." "Oh yeah, the Silver
Yeah.
Ranger, the Gold Ranger," kind of thing.
Is that a bit of a joke? Because wasn't there a Gold Ranger at one point?
I mean, I don't know, maybe in the later ones, but
Oh. I feel like I've been
not
aware of maybe the
in the
concept of a gold one. I don't know. I obviously don't know because I'm not
maybe later down the line, but
familiar.
from what I know of, yeah. Yes. As I said, I didn't watch Beyond Mighty Morphin, so I don't know if there ended
Yeah.
up being any kind of other, because like the suits have changed and all thing in the other iterations. So I don't know what happens beyond that. But
Okay.
yeah, and so then we get a nice little fireworks show, thank you Power Rangers and this whole kind of
Yes.
thing, and we get um a nice rock song playing, and yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good
It's a look.
celebration, which I always say this ending is very similar to the ending of Magic Mike XXL, where we have our heroes lined
Yes.
up on a balcony watching fireworks. A song about like winning the day is playing. Like Magic Mike
Yes.
XXL is very much stole their ending from this movie. I guarantee it. So
Very strange. Very strange how it does feel like that, to
yeah.
be honest with you. But genuinely, a very, very fun movie. I know we've obviously done a few little comparisons to that
Yeah.
2017 movie over the course of this. We'll talk a little bit more about that specifically before the end of the episode
Hmm.
now, I think. But in speaking on the kind of maybe concept of a gold ranger as well, though, I think that little video that you did send me about the sort of history of the Power Rangers, it kind of that
Hmm.
particularly kind of got a little bit overwhelming in the sense of the sheer amount of different iterations of the Power Rangers that there have
Yes.
been since the Mighty Morphin Power
Hmm.
Rangers,
Yeah.
all of them
Hmm.
with very similar titles of show as well. I'm talking like
Yes.
Power Rangers Ninja Force, Power Rangers Super Ninja Force, Power Rangers Ninja Force
Zeo. Yeah.
3000,
Sorry.
Power Rangers Super G-Force, Power Rangers G-Force 2000. It's like, oh God, which one am I supposed to? Which one is which? I don't get
That's why
this. It doesn't make
that's
sense.
that's why I gave up. That's why I gave up on that. But yeah, and then obviously, like, so these actors wanted to leave and go do other things.
Yeah.
The only one that I think really kind of went on to do mainstream stuff was Amy Jo Johnson. She ended up being on the J.J. Abrams WB. So she found herself on WB with Dawson. um,
Ah, okay.
she was on the J.J. Abrams show Felicity, with
Okay.
Kerry Russell and Scott Foley, Scott Speedman. So that was a very popular show, and so she found herself as kind of a lead character on that show.
Ah, okay.
Um, so yeah, but her and Jason David Frank have a little nice cameo in this 2017 film. I don't know if you spotted them at the
Yes.
end in the city scene. He takes a little bit of a selfie of
Yes,
the big
just
Power
about.
Rangers.
It's a cameo.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a character. It's not.
No.
It is nice, I suppose. It's
As
harkening
they were
back
kind
to
of
goofy times.
yeah, as they were kind of like a you know, a G-rated couple of the show and probably the most kind of
Yes.
popular characters. As
Yeah.
you could kind of see, Tommy's always the leader of the Power Rangers because Jason was the leader originally. That's why Jason is the leader in this 2017 movie.
Yes.
So these characters are like the original, have the same names as the original
Yeah.
Rangers. So like Zach was the black one, but in this one he's the Asian guy,
Yeah.
who I think is Liu Kang in the new Mortal Kombat movies. And I was like, oh
Oh,
yeah, that is him.
okay.
I think Ludi Lin is his name. But yeah, so that's these characters are in 2017. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
So
the notable difference going into 2017. I know
yeah,
I've spoke about the fact that the alien, the ancient aspect, the Zordon and Rita of it all do
yeah.
feel very ancient. It's good, I suppose, to see Rita Repulsa fully fledged because I hadn't up until this point, you know, in Mighty Morphin, in the episodes of the TV show that I saw, she wasn't in them really. Um,
Yeah.
in the movie, she's kind of only in it for 5 minutes at the beginning before Ivan takes over the whole movie as
Yeah.
the villain.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Banks obviously plays Rita Repulsa in the 2017 one, and she is the only person actually who I think realized that she was in a Power Rangers movie and tried to play it like she was in a Power Rangers movie. Everybody
Exactly. And
else was trying to play it like they were in
far more
a
serious.
DC movie of the time.
Yeah, they definitely were playing it like more serious, like Marvel DC superhero kind of thing. And she was very much like chewing scenery, which for me, her performance felt very silly because it didn't fit with kind of what everything else that the movie
No, it
was
didn't.
doing.
But it was the
Um
best thing about the movie.
So, but she just felt very kind of silly to me because it just didn't work with the tone they were doing. So I don't know if I think it would have worked better for me if she went with the tone of what everything else was, or if they would
Went with
look
her tone.
silly trying to kind of play into her tone. So I don't
Yeah, I
know
mean,
because
I suppose it's the never answerable argument,
yeah,
and is the reason these remakes really don't need to ever exist in the way they do, because you're questioning there whether you would prefer the whole movie to just be a very, very similar tone to the original Mighty Morphin. But then
yeah.
if it was, Mighty
Why even
Morphin's
do
there to
bother to
go and
do it?
watch. Why even
Exactly,
do
so
it?
that's what I'm saying, like, justify your existence by taking something familiar, really loving the bones of it, and then, you know,
Yeah.
doing your own thing with it. And so I feel like
Maybe.
that's what this film was doing, and then when Rita's kind of being completely ridiculous,
Yeah.
it just doesn't quite
Maybe.
compute, you know? Um,
Maybe it is
and
that,
also, like, the lore of making her like the original Green Ranger, that was, like, not
Oh,
really
yeah.
the lore of Rita.
Yeah,
Um,
that felt like a bold choice even for me, I feel
yeah,
like.
because
I
I
don't think that was probably accurate.
no, because Rita, I think her origin is kinda similar to Ivan, like, she was trapped in a thing, buried
Yeah.
for
She's an
years, and then
ancient
released.
demon, essentially.
She's like a witch, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, she was an ancient witch who was buried away and then found her way out of it, and now is like, you know, creates these monsters. "Make my monsters grow," is like what she says all the time. That's why this Rita was saying that. So she was
Okay.
basically like a sorceress. So she wasn't like a past ranger or anything like that. So that was them taking liberties with fleshing out this story and giving like this, you know, deeper connection between her and Zordon and that whole kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I
I
don't
do
know.
feel like though, as the movie, it does everything that became so boring and samey and dull and a little bit annoying about superhero movies of say 10ish years ago.
Yeah.
That I feel like has improved some in the
Mhm.
superhero movies of more recent years. Like we're able to be a little bit more differentiating between movie to movie to movie. They're able to be a
Yeah.
little bit more free in genre. They're able to be a little bit more, you know, experimental, as it were, because kind
Yeah.
of you just maybe it's not necessarily experimental, but at least feel different from each other. it really does fall into that category to me of just, oh my God, I'm watching another slightly over serious superhero origin movie, aren't I?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, and that's what it is. And I know the beats of this beat for beat for beat. I know the beats of Mighty Morphin beat for beat for beat, but it's fun, it's stupid, it's
Yeah, and
silly.
it's not taking itself too
It at least is
seriously.
no, it at least is that, so I can just kind of roll with the goofiness of it. This wants me to care. And when it's the same movie that I've
Yeah,
seen time and time and time
yeah.
again, I can't seem to bring myself to care until Elizabeth Banks comes on screen as Rita,
Oh,
and I'm like, oh,
okay.
something I can actually vibe with here. This is good.
Okay, it's
This is what I
interesting.
enjoy.
Okay.
In no way does it fit with the rest of the movie. I completely agree with you. It's a complete tonal mismatch. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for each other. And while I think everybody's doing a perfectly fine job, the kids themselves are doing a perfectly fine
Mhm.
job. Dacre Montgomery's kind of leading the whole movie, as it were, because he's the
Yeah.
he's
Red Ranger
Jason.
Jason. Yeah. Mhm.
He does a perfectly good job. I feel like this was, the height of everybody loving him from his run on
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, he's embracing that kind of star that he was, and I feel like probably no longer is. That was a short-lived little bit of stardom, I feel.
I think
Um,
he's still doing
he's still
stuff.
doing. So
Like,
I'm not saying he's
this
not still
was like
doing stuff.
this was the first kind of big thing, I think, for most of these actors. So I think this was
Yeah.
before, this is kind of what put him on the radar of people. And I think uh
Was it before his running Stranger Things, even
I
maybe?
think so, because he was season 2. He didn't even come in, I think, until season 2 of Stranger Things.
Okay.
So
Because yeah, I don't remember the timelines of it all really, but it felt like he he
yeah, no,
was embracing that of the day stardom. Oh, I'm doing now essentially a superhero movie, and like at the time 10 years ago, everybody was doing a superhero. Everybody wanted to do a
yeah,
superhero movie.
and
This was the big thing to do.
this was supposed to be a big thing. They were doing a lot of promotion. I think they even, like, played a Schmodown match to promote this movie. I remember them, at
Did
Collider
they?
Studio, like, doing a match.
Why?
So
Yeah.
yeah, this was
Why
kind
do
of
I vaguely recall that? I
yeah.
do vaguely recall that.
Yeah, I mean, these are all solid actors. I think they did some really good work in this film. Naomi Scott, I think she went on to she the Princess Jasmine in the
Yeah.
Aladdin live action. Um, Becky G, I think she was already like a musical artist. Uh, RJ Kyler, I think, he's done some solid stuff. He was in this HBO Issa Rae produced show called Rap Shit. He was really good in that. So,
Okay.
they've all kind of gone on. Ludi Lin, who was Zach, I think
Yeah.
I mentioned he was in the Mortal Kombat movies. So yeah, I mean they're all like great actors. But yeah, I don't know how I would feel if they kind of try to lean into the Rita's tone or vice versa.
Yeah.
But I liked some of the concepts they introduced. Like, I liked that we all made them very complicated and they weren't like these clean cut kids like the ones in
No,
the show.
I
They
suppose
were
that's
all
fair.
kind of messy and kind of delinquents, and
They
that they're
were.
kind of needing this drive and purpose, and they find it in becoming rangers. So I like kind of that concept that they are all a bit kind of complicated and messy.
Yeah. I
Um,
suppose I give it credit for being different in that way. If I was to be cynical about it, which I possibly can be, the movie itself, I think, does take quite a cynical tone to the Power Rangers because the
yeah.
teenagers themselves, the kids
It
themselves,
takes them a
they're
while
very,
to
very,
even care about, like,
it
doing
does.
this. Yeah.
Like they're very cynical characters about
Yeah.
this whole thing for the most part until they end up finding the friendship with one another. But it's not even
Yeah.
presented in that fun way. It's presented in a like trauma bonding way
Yeah,
almost.
so the fireside
Um
conversation to the point where Kimberly doesn't even wanna say what she did, then we find out that she's,
yeah,
like was basically, like, this bully, like, yikes.
it's really quite dark. But
Yeah, pretty
also, does it not just feel like my cynical mind is saying, is it not just that vomit inducing, let's try and be edgy attitude that the some superhero movies of the time seemed to have? Remember the ridiculously failed, long drawn out production for the New Mutants movie, and
Yeah.
how that was like, oh, these are weirdos, these are edgy X-Men
Yeah.
kids. And
Yeah.
it's not the X-Men. It's definitely not the X-Men. You know those X-Men from those
Yeah.
movies with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and the
Yeah.
slightly older ones with Ian
Yeah.
McKellen. Yes, you know those
These
X-Men.
are
This is
your
not them.
rebel
These are
mutants.
yeah,
Yeah.
these are cool, dark, edgy ones. Let's
Yeah.
lean into a little bit of what people like about, say, DC movies of the time, when
Yeah.
it's all a bit dark and Zack Snyder-ish and ooh,
Yeah.
edgy. And
Yes.
that
Yeah.
feels like a little bit of what this is trying to be. And I'm going, oh God, this is so 2017. It's unbelievable. And I'm
Well,
watching it going, oh, I mean, I commend it for
trying to do something
doing what
different.
it I commend it for trying to do something different in the realm of Power Rangers. I commend it
Yeah.
for going with the what people wanted to see in that kind of movie tone of the
Mhm.
era. But I don't think that kind of tone of superhero movie, as it is, has aged very well, even in 10 years. I don't think it's aged very well. I think it's aged very poorly.
Okay. I
Um,
mean, in me rewatching it, I hadn't watched it in a while, and I found myself really enjoying it still and being entertained by it. And, I do get some of your points about it feeling kinda like they're trying a little too hard to change things and lean into a certain tone. Um, and that's probably, like, why this film wasn't very successful. Like, they set up a sequel.
yeah, it
I know
really
you don't watch I know you don't watch 2 Beyond the Credits, but they did have, like, a mid-credit scene where,
okay.
they set up Tommy, so we kind of zoom into the detention classroom when we see the teacher, and he's
Ah,
saying, "Tommy Oliver, is Tommy Oliver here? Tommy Oliver," and he
okay.
keeps calling Tommy's name, and we zoom in on a desk with a green jacket on the chair.
Okay.
Um, yes,
Because
and
he
then
was
Billy
originally this evil Green Ranger who
Yes,
became
he
the
started
White
as the
one.
Green Ring exactly.
I
So
understand.
they kinda set him up, and then
Definitely let's not call him the White Power Ranger either.
no, it's always the
Let's
White
not say
Ranger.
that. It's
Yeah,
always,
um,
color and then Ranger. Power does not come in.
yeah,
They are the Power Rangers,
Power
but as soon as you
Rangers.
say color, don't use the word power.
Yeah, yes, no, we don't need to, throw that in the mix of things,
Because
but,
all of a sudden, one of the Power Rangers starts wearing a hood, and then that
y
becomes a big problem.
yeah, not a good look, not a
We're
good
not
look.
into that. No, none of that.
No, 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 no. So it's just the White Ranger. But yeah, and then you kind of even think there's a bit of a Breakfast Club vibe happening because you
A little
even,
bit, yeah,
in the fireside scene, because even Billy talking about why he was in detention, it's very much like like
yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall's reason something
It
blew up in
is.
his locker.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
and I think today, like, now that there's more awareness about it, like, he wouldn't need to say that he was on the spectrum, but because I don't think a lot of people knew what that was, he had to say it. So, at the time, I think people really loved that and thought, "Wow, that's really cool that they're having a character like this." Um,
Yeah.
but I think watching it now and kind of knowing how much autism exists within people and how it's getting this
Or
kind
the
of spotlight
awareness
right
of it.
now.
Yeah.
Yes. It felt kinda, like, goofy that he had to say it. But at the time, I remember watching that and thinking, "Oh, that's kinda cool," because like, I don't think people really knew all that much about what on the spectrum meant.
Yeah, I
Um
definitely wanted to make a little bit of a point about that. I thought that was a very commendable thing for
Mhm.
the movie to do. But I do completely agree with you in watching it now. Again, I think this is another reason that it's maybe not aged particularly well, even though it's not
Yeah.
that old. Obviously, it's not that old at
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
But it does
Yeah.
feel way too on the nose. Like
Yeah.
he, as a characterization of somebody on the autism spectrum, he feels way too on the nose with it all.
Yeah. Yes, but at the time, I remember people really commending it and appreciating that and liking RJ, I think Kyler, I don't know if it's Siler or Kyler's performance, with that, with Billy. Because Billy is kind of like the techie person. That's why, like, in the original episodes, they always had him wearing glasses, and the actor was very
Right.
much like, "These
He
glasses are
looks
messing
so
with my eyes, and so
he looks
please,
so much
can I
older
not?"
than everybody else.
He is.
He
He
looks like
was.
everybody's dad.
He was much older, and I think he ended up being gay, so there was a lot of kind of, like, suppression of that and things in the public life that he struggled with a little bit
Oh,
as well.
okay. I
Um,
genuinely noticed that about Mighty Morphin. I thought, oh, there's
yeah.
somebody who's probably in their early 20s, or there's somebody else who's probably in their early
Mhm.
20s. Oh, there's a man in his mid 30s.
Yes,
Like,
I think he was,
what's going on
like, the
here?
oldest one for sure, and so, yeah, he was, like, the techie guy, "Oh, I can fix this, da, da, da," and he always had to wear glasses, and he hated the fake glasses because they messed with his eyes, so he was like, "Please don't make me wear the glasses anymore," so later in seasons, he didn't have to wear glasses, but that's why I think, this version of Billy is also, they
Yeah,
thought, "Okay, this is the character who's, like, our techie, really smart character as Billy originally was. Let's add this other element that plays to him being very kind of thoughtful and smart
yeah.
as well."
Okay.
So,
He was
yeah, I remember
reminding
at the
me
time that
of
working, but hearing him say it felt kinda like clunky, like, oh, so
it
on the
did.
nose because you already read his character like that, so you don't need to say it. But then you think 2017, I don't know how many people were aware of what that meant, so you
I
would
mean, they
probably
should
need
have
to
been,
say it.
but then
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
No, I completely agree with you on that. I did just want to say the Mighty Morphin Billy reminded me for some reason the vibe of him reminded me of Hank Azaria's character in Friends.
oh
David the
yeah,
scientist.
the scientist, yeah, and I think his
He
name
was
is
giving
David.
those
I think his name is
right
David Yost, the actor. So,
perfect. He was
yeah,
really giving those vibes to me.
yeah,
Um, But no, I look, there's things that work about 2017. There's things that I enjoyed about it. I wasn't watching it going, this is a slog to watch at
yeah,
all. I was just watching it going, this is very by the numbers of the time as a
yeah.
superhero movie.
New for
And
Power
there's some
Rangers, but
things here.
it's
Yeah,
old
that's
for superhero movies.
yeah, which is why it doesn't ever mesh properly because it
Yeah,
never quite understands what tone it wants to go for. It never
m'kay.
quite understands what exactly it wants to be. Does it want to be a superhero movie of the time, or does it want to be a Power Rangers movie? In my mind, it should have wanted to be a Power Rangers movie, but
Yeah.
then you can, as we've said, make the argument of, well, if it wanted to be a Power Rangers movie,
Mm, those
how
already
much
exist.
wanted to have lead into Mighty Morphin tonally, and if
Yeah,
it did really want to lead into Mighty Morphin tonally, why not just go and watch Mighty Morphin? I also don't love, and I know that this series is basically, as far as a double feature series that it
yeah,
is built on the idea of let's now that we've grown up, let's make movies about things we liked when we were children, but
yeah.
make them for us now. No, stop doing
Just
that. I
yeah,
understand
just
this will
live in
be
the
this.
essence of what it was, because 'cause we'll still enjoy it
Yeah,
clearly, you
clearly
know?
we can go back and watch it. It's readily available.
Yeah,
So go back and watch it. That's what you like. You don't you have to pretend to try and mature everything. It's not about that. Stop living your life
yeah,
as a 10-year-old. Mature a little bit in your tastes, I suppose. But if you do want to or stop trying to think you can reinvent something from your own childhood and
yeah.
maybe take the ideas that you liked from it and make something original about it. And I know, my God, am I feeling like I'm being this idealized philosopher at the moment, which isn't ever going to happen in
Yeah,
modern and going forward Hollywood. We still get remake after remake and rebooting of rebooting
yeah,
and kind of reworking of reworking. It doesn't necessarily feel as hyped up and all encompassing as it maybe did 10 years ago,
yeah,
10 years ago, when it really did feel like every damn week you were getting a reboot of something or other. But it's still
yeah,
clearly relevant because Masters of the Universe is out. It's the
yeah,
same thing. So why are we doing that? When
yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look very good. I've not got high hopes for this Masters of the Universe movie that I'm
Yeah,
going to
well,
go and see shortly for the purposes of the show. Unless we were
yes.
doing it for this show, I would definitely not be going to see.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's,
I'm very curious about it. So, yeah, and I get what you're saying that like just lean into what it was, but then if like you do that, then you might as well just enjoy what it was,
yeah,
you know.
you know,
So yeah, this
it's a
film
weird
doesn't
one.
quite find the balance, but there's a lot to enjoy, and I appreciate the effort to try to modernize the Power Rangers, mature the Power Rangers. They introduce some really interesting ideas. I think the actors sell, what they are given very well.
Yeah,
But yeah, there was just kind of a tonal clash. So again, probably why this movie didn't do very well and why it didn't get
yeah.
a sequel that kind of was the kind of thought, I think. Um,
Of
but
course, it
yeah.
was the thought of every movie of this kind from that time. We must
Yeah.
carry on into a franchise. Look at how successful Marvel is. Oh my god, look at how successful
Yeah.
Marvel is. Everybody loves Marvel, don't they? Let's make it that.
Yeah.
Let's not try and make it that. Let's just be our own thing. Even, Marvel today, we say, let's just try and be our own thing, movie to movie to movie, because
Yeah, I
that
think that works.
lightning in a bottle you made in the 2010s ain't never gonna happen
Never
again.
gonna Yeah, exactly.
It just isn't. So stop trying to make it happen again. Just do it movie
Yeah.
for movie, and you'll be
Yeah.
better off. But yes, it's interesting. It's fun. We'll be getting next week into, yes, definitely my most familiar version of these Saturday morning movies, Jeannine, with the Ninja Turtles. And although these are movies I've obviously never seen before, but in terms of
Yes.
my awareness of exactly who the Ninja Turtles are, the whole
And I
lore of
mean,
the Ninja Turtles, everything
yeah,
about it, I am very familiar with
yeah.
that.
And this was one that was kind of tricky. This one in Transformers was very tricky in terms of like picking the movies because Transform or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out of all of these films have the most
Yeah, got a
iterations.
lot.
There's so many movies made from this. But I stuck to the original 90s film and the latest animated film, the most recent
Yeah.
animated film, because that was actually really good.
Not those
So
silly reasonably recent
no,
ones.
and not the Michael Bay produced ones,
Yeah.
not the other animated one. I think that's called TMNT. So yeah, so many iterations to kind of think about doing, but I ended up, yeah, just choosing the original. I think 1990s is when that the original film
Yes.
came out,
90, I
and
think.
the most recent animated film. So
Which is Mutant Mayhem, if I'm remembering
I
the title
believe
correctly.
so. Yes, yes, yes. I think people might be upset. I'm kind of like second guessing my picks for Transformers. I feel like people might be mad at me that I didn't
Oh,
pick
because you think we should be doing
the
Orson
animated
Welles
the
Prime one.
Orson Welles, yes, animated movie.
Which we could,
And the
I mean, we could reword it at this point
I
if you
mean, or
really
just kind of
wanted
watch
to.
it for context and kind of throw it in the mix of conversation, but, if time allows, we will see, but,
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like because like, I didn't watch that movie a ton, but I watched that, the Michael Bay one a ton, and, then Bumblebee is just, like, a good Transformers movie. So,
Okay. Okay.
because
Well, we'll
the
see,
subsequent
won't we?
sequels are not great, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
We will certainly see what
Yeah.
this series has in store going
Yeah.
forward. Series that it is exciting times here on Morgan Hasn't Seen, as always, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. The main show celebrating old movies is there, of course, every Friday. It is what we love to do the most here on It's a Wonderful podcast. Discover those new old movies, as well as we very, very often do over on the main show. A Robert Mitchum series is upon us
Yeah.
for June. That is exciting as well, going from the Paul Newman series in May to another one of our most beloved actors of old Hollywood there. TV-based things every Monday, of course, alternating at the moment are Discovering Dawson's Creek and diving into Doctor Who. Do subscribe wherever you are listening today on all major podcast platforms, of course. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like, and share wherever you may be. whether that be on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, or any such other place, and subscribe and ding the notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel as well for all our video things. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, find the links to do that in the description of today's episode, or of course just find us on and across all the social media on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the, because Jeannine,
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All of your morphing time is where
you can find me at Jeannine _ on Twitter, Jeannine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search J9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, there we go. There's a lot of impressions you could possibly do today, really, isn't there? A Zordon impression, an Alpha 5 impression. Bill Hader even does Alpha 5,
yeah, he does. He does.
Which, if you're not going to get Alan Tudyk to do something like that, you're going to get Bill Hader.
Bill Hader, he's pretty good.
It's one of the two. And you're not allowed anybody else at that time to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I forgot what I was going to say now. You could do a Rita Repulsa. You could do an Ivan Ooze. You could do absolutely anything you wanted to count us down today. Go ahead.
3, 2, 1. Ay, ay, ay.
Bye.